Hey, everybody, and welcome to Misconceptions of the Colonial Witch Trials, video number 7. At a museum event this past weekend, I overheard a conversation where a guest claimed to a volunteer that the Putnams, namely Thomas Jr., his uncle Captain John, and cousin Jonathan, used their militia rank as a kind of police force during the Salem witch trials of 1692. About 15 minutes later, I approached the guest, respectfully refuted parts of his claim, and asked for his sources. 4 days have passed, and I still have yet to receive those sources. So I decided to do my own deep dive to help clarify this misconception. As friend and historian Margot Burns always reminds me, the best place to start with a misconception is to ask ourselves the question, how do we know what we know? The 17th century New England militia was not a professional army, but a force drawn from the able-bodied men of each settlement. By law, these men were obligated to defend their towns from, and I quote, other perceived threats. This model was deliberately distinct from England's standing army, which many colonists viewed as a dangerous symbol of centralized royal power and tyranny. In Massachusetts, these part-time militias were the only defense for families and livelihoods against both native resistance during King Philip's War and the pirates who stalked the Atlantic coast. Within this system, several members of the Putnam family served. Thomas Putnam Jr., who is often styled as sergeant on family trees, though sources strongly suggest he actually served as a trooper under Captains Kerwin and Captain Thomas Prentice during King Philip's War, the possible equivalent of a private today. As a mounted soldier, Thomas's key responsibilities would have been to search and detect enemy movements, carry supplies to the garrison, and provide flexibility in combat. His uncle, John Putnam, who served in the same war under Captain George Corwin and was credited for his service, which occurred before September 23rd in 1676. While John may not have yet held the rank at this time, by 1686, he was definitely confirmed in the court records as a lieutenant, and tradition holds that he became captain in 1687. And in the Salem witch trial documents, he is definitely referred to in one of those documents as Captain John Putnam. John's son Jonathan followed him, supposedly being styled captain circa 1688. Fast forward to 1692, and all three men appear in the Salem witch hunt, but their roles differed. Thomas Jr. was by far the most active, filing complaints against many townspeople. John Putnam, by contrast, signed a witness statement with 11 others, stating that Daniel Wilkins' death was due to witchcraft. However, John did not accuse anyone directly. In fact, he joined others in signing a May petition defending Rebecca Nurse, and even offered testimony with his wife, asserting that they, and I quote, had no suspicion of witchcraft in their own family losses. And this was in a deposition in defense of Rebecca Nurse. Can be found in the records of the Salem Witch Hunt, document number 372, page 435. It is true that John Putnam was entangled in the Topsfield boundary disputes with Rebecca Nurse's relatives, the Town and the Esty families. Yet that conflict is not once mentioned in records of the Salem Witch Hunt. This is evidence that this dispute was not a direct factor in the trials. His testimony against George Burroughs likewise deserves refinement. John described Burroughs as harsh to his wife during a brief stay in the Putnam household and advised against Burroughs' request that his wife sign a covenant of secrecy After all, John pointed out to George Burroughs, keeping each other's secrets was part of their original marital covenant. Unfavorable testimony? Yes, but not an accusation of witchcraft. Again, you can find this document in Records of the Salem Witch Hunts, document number 126, page 246. Jonathan Putnam's record is a little more mixed. He signed the same Wilkins statement, swore out a complaint against Rebecca Nurse with his cousin Edward Putnam, and joined a deposition against Mary Esty on May 20th. Yet he later signed the petition in Rebecca Nurse's defense. Because that petition's signatures were added over time, historians cannot say whether Jonathan's change of heart came before or after his accusations. Still, the turn is notable, especially given his role as constable of Salem Village. And again, you can find that particular document in Records of the Salem Witch Hunt, document number 254, page 349. Taken together, these details complicate the notion that the Putnams wielded their militia rank to drive the accusations of 1692. Thomas Jr.'s role is undeniable, but John and Jonathan's involvement is less clear-cut. Thomas Jr. himself remains a particularly complex figure. An intelligent man with a clear hand, he was trusted to record many depositions. That he sought to provide accurate accounts is probable. Whether coercion played a role is impossible to know definitively. Historians can only acknowledge both his civic and military service and his central role in the tragedy of Salem. As for the broader question of how military prestige intersected with witchcraft accusations, the record suggests caution. While militia service gave men like the Putnams social standing, the documents do not show them explicitly leveraging military authority to spread accusations. Future research may yet help untangle how militia status shaped perceptions in 1692. This research will include historian Mary Beth Norton's insights on the wrongful charge against Captain John Alden. Stay tuned for part 2 of this discussion, which will air on October 1st. Look for episode 2 of Averill Family of Chipping Norton to Ipswich and Beyond, Lives Recast, to air a week from today, September 24th. Comment below with your insights on militia ranks of some of these judges. Also, check out the Thing About Salem podcast hosted by my wonderful friends and cousins, Sarah Jack and Josh Hutchinson. See you all in about a week. Thank you.